Are we recording again? She's always recording. Hi, welcome back. We're in a different spot.
Yeah, we're in the studio. I think this is fun. I don't know. It is. It's good.
It's the same but different.
It's same,
Same, different, same.
different, same.
Okay.
What are we doing today?
Tattooing styles or types of tattooing. We can do either.
Not genres, like genres.
Genres and subgenres of tattooing, but I also wrote types because there's like the application of the craft of tattooing.
Oh, fun. This is gonna be a good one.
Thank you.
Listen up, folks. Here we go.
Here to educate.
I'm curious if we probably will have it in a similar order too.
Probably.
Because if you think of like the main ones and then the sub ones.
Yep. You wrote notes.
Okay, but like these are my notes.
And then I wrote
I
wrote 9 pages. Yeah, I wanted to start with like application of the craft.
Okay.
So I wrote like how it started with like say like Inuit tattooers where we were talking about how they use like the colored thread.
Yes.
So they use colored thread and it's drawn under the skin and stitched. And then so there's no attempt made to depict like a specific image. The design is limited to like lines, dots, and like broken and continuous lines, or like they would thread cross shapes, almost like a cross stitch, to do like full saturation.
So a lot more simplified.
Yeah.
So when they're, excuse my ignorance, but like when they're threading it through, do they then pull that out, or does it stay for a little bit to stain the skin and to really
It's literally
penetrate?
like it's like how I have my gentian violet thread. It would be like that. So it'd be like your thread soaked in ink, and then you like stitch it through the skin, and then you would just pull it out.
So
Because it still goes under that second layer of the dermis.
with traditional tattooing, I don't think we have to explain that. I think most people listening would know how traditional tattooing in today's day is done with a machine.
Oh, I have information on that too.
But so with how you or I would tattoo today, to me, thinking of having to literally stitch someone, I feel like that would be harder.
It would be harder, but
Right?
it's still, I mean, it's still done.
Wow, that's awesome.
It's still done that way. Yeah. So that's like under the category of like ethnographic tattooing. And then there's chisel and comb, which is what most people are familiar with.
In Thailand and
Yeah.
oh, okay.
Yeah, so it's a row of needles and ivory or bone, and then the chisel is that's your chisel, and then it's hammered with like a handheld mallet in succession. And then so that would be like the tattoos from Samoa, in Polynesia, and the same manner of tattooing that the Maori of New Zealand do for like their moko, which is cool.
Very, very, very cool. I very much respect how educated you've made yourself on the history of it and really respecting the craft and the foundation of it. I think that's great, and more people need to do that, with myself included. So I am also learning on today's podcast.
It's fun.
Yeah.
I sat for like a couple hours last night and wrote down everything that I can just pull from my noggin,
Yeah.
and then did a bit of fact checking.
That's awesome. I did not. I kind of fact checked. I just was like writing down stuff that I could think of. And then there was like dates that I had looked up, but that was pretty much it. So
Yeah.
if I'm saying, like, if I'm saying anything, maybe fact check it. Like, for the listeners. Don't take what I say as 100% truth,
Just, like,
whereas Kat's is
grain of
more-
salt.
Yes.
Don't take mine as gospel, but I mean, you can.
But like, yeah.
And then there's Japanese method. So same thing as well, not the same thing, but it's similar to like chisel and comb technique. It's a row of sticks or needles jointed to create a particular pattern. So the pattern's already created in advance, and then it's hammered into the skin.
Okay, so when you say the pattern, like the tattoo, the stencils created in advance, do they stencil it on the skin?
No, so it's like your pattern of needles created. So
Whoa.
yeah, so it wouldn't be like a giant ass tattoo, but the like the configuration of the needles creates the print that you're going to.
Okay, so if you're getting an X,
Yeah.
the needles would be formatted into looking like an X. Like if you were to look at the needle,
Yeah.
the 10 needles, 5 would be going horizontally, 5 would be going vertically. I did that backwards. Vertically. And then that is being punctured into the skin multiple times, and that's the design. So you're not doing a line and then a line to make an X. The actual needles are making that.
Pre-formatted.
Yeah. I didn't know that was possible.
But I was trying to figure out if that's just Japanese method, but then there's also like the bokushai technique, but that's 27 needles. So that's like your really, really beautifully saturated grayscale.
Okay.
And that's more like, oh, god damn, I forgot the artist's name already and I should have written it down, but I put a lot of stakes in thinking I would remember everything.
You do remember lots of things.
I do
so
remember
let's-
lots of things,
yeah.
but now my brain is like, hello. Okay. So, are we starting with traditional?
Okay. Yeah. I
Okay.
had trad first.
Yeah. So, like the first electric tattooing.
Yes.
Okay. So the first patented machine.
Yes. So for me, I literally wrote down started mid 1900s after World War II. That's all I got.
Yeah. So the first electric tattoo machine was made by Samuel Riley in 1891.
1891.
Yeah.
So it got popular after the war then. It would so traditional would have started actually in the late 1800s. Because it was like sailor.
1890 Yeah. So like 1891 was when the first machine, like electric machine, was made and
Gotcha.
patented. It would have started with like Bert Grimm and everyone like that. I didn't have it's like early 1900s for sure. So like that machine is like a drive principle machine. So it's electromagnetic and a spring. So that's your coil. And then your rotary, what we use today, is your rotational machine. It's a flywheel connected to an electromotor. And that's how we have our classical and traditional tattooing.
Right. So is it still considered traditional if you're not using a coil?
Yes. I don't use a coil
Well,
and
I
I
mean-
do traditional tattoos. So
Yes.
that would be like stylizing your traditional tattoo. So your bold lines,
Yeah.
bold black outline,
Yeah.
clean. And then it's always the imagery. So your eagles, your lady heads, your heart banners, your rose, your anchor, your clipper ship,
Yeah.
pinups.
Yeah. Because if we're looking at when it got popularized, when people like sailors, people coming back from the war, they wanted to commemorate their time there and be proud of their countries and what they were doing. So that's where it was a lot of the sparrows and, you know, a lot of like the traditions of tattooing that happened.
Nautical
Sailor
stars,
Jerry got
anchors.
popular. The anchors, all that stuff.
Yeah. So I wrote, so that like the imagery, and then you have black or bold outline, your solid pigment. So it's a flat image. So it's literally just flat, drawn on paper, original carbon-based ink, and then your primary colors. So your red, yellow, green, ketchup, mustard, relish.
I've never heard it like
Didn't know
that.
that?
That's cool. No,
what
no,
they
I
called
knew
it.
those were the colors, but I didn't know
Yeah.
like the ketchup. That it's a good way to remember
Yeah,
it.
that was like Sailor Jerry, Don Ed Hardy,
Yeah, Ed Hardy was huge.
Lyle Tuttle, who I'm pretty sure he's, I don't want to say he's still kicking, but I feel like he recently passed. Bert Grimm, Shanghai Kate.
It's the only one I don't know.
Shanghai Kate. Okay, I will show you Shanghai Kate one
Okay.
day. A fucking legend.
Yeah,
I think she passed away last year.
I love that it's a woman.
Oh, she was so fucking badass.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yay.
Cute little curly hair and just she's so nice. Yeah.
great.
What are your notes on traditional?
Yeah, that was basically it. I have a lot of respect for it. The simplicity of it. I don't know that people who aren't artists would really understand how difficult it is, because they may look at it and be like, oh, it's more simple, so it must be easier. No, because it's simple, you can't hide things.
Can't hide shit.
There's the a lot of the symmetry of it, not like geometrical symmetry, but it's still very basic shapes a lot of the time. So you're going to notice if something is a little bit off, if an image is only being created by 6 or 7 lines versus if you're looking at, say, realism or something, like you're going to see imperfection a lot easier. So I have that much more respect for when it's done well. So after trad, what did you?
I wrote neotrad.
Fucking me too. Yeah, you did.
Yeah, I did.
Did I say neo-trad or new school?
New school, neo
I put
traditional.
new trad, whatever. It's all the same. That is all the same, right? Neo-trad, new school?
Yeah, so
Those are
they're
one and the
saying
same?
like Ed Hardy was in with the like traditional tattooers, but he like pioneered
Yeah.
neo-traditional because he pushed traditional past its limit.
Yeah.
Like he pushed past the 3 primary colors and
Yep.
created a more dynamic color range,
Yeah.
as well as like the composition of his imagery changed.
Yeah, I mean, it's like the notoriety for the bright neon colors and yeah, like you're saying, like expanding that palette, like that's what it was known for.
Yeah.
Like that was the big jump because you're saying it was such like a primary palette.
And then adding depth to
And then adding depth, yeah, like like a decorative detail.
yes, decorative.
And-
That's a very good word.
It is.
Yeah.
It's comparatively.
Comparatively, yes. So like last,
Yes, I'm right. It is a good word. Thank
I am
you.
right. My Leo energy is feeding into me. I am right.
Fucking eat that shit up all day. Tell me I'm right.
So we touched on neo-traditional last week with my like ins because I love it. So the same thing, heavy line weights like traditional, but then there's fine line details. And then your array of pigment shades. So they're either incredibly bright or they're muted. Where did I write it? Yeah, muted tones, so like moody. So you have like your earth tones, Victorian velvets, and lush gems. So it's like your ketchup, mustard, relish, and all the colors in between. But I like the gold tones and the browns and stuff that
Yes.
are used in Neotrad. So and then as far as imagery goes, it's your like classic Americana imagery, but amplified.
Yeah.
And then, so painting, but in a tattoo medium. So you have your same fundamental techniques, but then your motifs are from like ukiyo-e Japanese art prints, Art Nouveau, Art Deco. Yes?
Yeah.
Dark, dense, and rich aesthetic. And then it often depicts things like flowers, portraits of women, animals. And then you're incorporating your light source.
And correct me if I'm wrong, it also was done in black and gray, though. It doesn't have to be color. Is that
Yeah.
a defining?
No. I think new trad or neo trad in black and gray is stunning.
Oh, me too. Like your back piece is what I think of.
Yeah,
When I
my
think of
back
neo
piece.
trad is so gorgeous.
Yeah, because it's like black. Well, right now it's like bold lines and heavy black, but then we're gonna do like the opaque soft grays. So not a watered down pigment, literally like a flat gray.
Should we explain that? Do you think people would understand what that meant? So there's 2 different types of doing gray wash.
Yeah.
You can use black and then take a distilled sterile water or the solution that the ink is made before the pigment is added to it.
It's like a saline.
It's basically, yeah. And then adding that to dilute the pure black into
Yeah.
what would be considered a grayscale. Now, for what Kat was just mentioning is the actual pigmented colors are that of gray.
Great.
So your gray scale would be of true pigmented color, not a watered down black.
Yeah, so like your like steel gray
Yes.
chroma.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're doing an overwash of that on your back?
Mm-hmm.
Ow. I mean, good for you, but that's going to look sick.
When we get there, it's been 3 years since I've made it to Michigan. Like what's left on my back is all solid black and then the gray wash. So I'm like,
Ow.
like if I see him one more time and he's like, you get
Yeah,
tattooed, I'm like, I don't want to.
It already looks, so good.
Yeah. I love it. That's my back piece is definitely my favorite.
Yeah. I see why.
Yeah.
So
Depth
that's
of imagery.
that's pretty. Okay, what did you have next? I'm so curious if we're on the same.
Japanese.
Japanese traditional. Yo, this is great.
We have the same mind. This
That
is fun.
like no, like actually though, trad, new trad, Japanese traditional. I fucking love it. The cats are one.
One brain cell between the two of us.
You know what I do really enjoy is we'll be tattooing. So the way that our station, our studio is set up is Kat and I, and then we have our junior named Sanga in the middle. But Sanga wasn't always with us. At one time it was just you and I. But either way, when we would have clients or there's things going on, you and I would just have to like look at each other and we would be having a conversation.
Yeah, we're just having a mental conversation
Yes.
from across the studio. I'm like,
Yes. We just know what each other are thinking.
Yeah,
it's
that's
very
great.
funny.
didn't know I was a mind reader until I met you. It's great. You and Riley. I'm just. She just looks at me from her phone, like, "Ma'am, hello."
Riley for sure.
Japanese. Okay.
Yeah.
So I wrote because Japanese tattooing has been around forever, but it's been illegal for so long. It became legal in 1948.
Okay, but isn't it still illegal in some aspects, or still taboo in some areas in Japan?
Yeah, depending on like which area.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So for Japanese, I wrote that it combines like old and new. So they have like they pull from most of the time it's from like stories,
Like mythical, like myths, mythical creatures and stuff, right? And
Yeah.
like, okay, legends and.
I don't want to mispronounce it, but I wrote roots in Irizumi tattooing, so I believe that was like the original.
Oh, okay.
And then it showcases cultural reverence. So for like the native culture, so animals and flowers, warriors and women, and then heroic figures, characters from literature, and mythological figures. So with Japanese, you've got your koi, your dragons, your tigers, your snakes. And then for nature, there's like sakura, lotus, chrysanthemums. And then, so your Irizumi, is your heroic figures. So it's always your warriors and portraits of the characters from literature of the time. And then incorporating also like the mythological figures, which is like your Tengu, your Oni, your dragons. And they're all like your Oni are Tengu are the ghost guys, and your Oni are the little. My brain just keeps going to Spirited Away, and you're not even going to know what I'm talking about.
You lost me like a little bit ago. Your brain is very sexy, by the way.
I need to get you.
I'm like, holy fuck. All right. I knew like 60% of what you just said. And then I'm like, what? That's awesome.
You want to watch anime with me?
Yeah, I'll give it a go.
Irizumi, yeah, old guys, heroic stuff. And then the Tabori is the hand style tattooing, so the rod of metal or wood. And then I wrote, for anyone who does want to actually look it up, Mutsuo is the artist.
Okay.
Who
How do we spell that?
Mutsuo. You literally just like barely have to start typing it,
and it comes up.
You'll see just so good. It's so good.
This is an artist that's currently resides in Japan?
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
Do you have any other notes?
That was more than I could ever even try. I had water themes, mythical creatures stemming from myths and legends, and you took it to a whole other level. So good job.
Yeah.
That's my understanding of the knowledge.
Japanese wave and cloud is like one of the biggest like fillers, I guess, or like your backing to your huge mythological piece.
Yeah, like I remember being taught.
Cherry blossoms is your sakura.
So obviously not Japan, but the guy that I had trained under worked at Chronic Ink, which is a studio down south in Toronto, Ontario.
I love them.
And it's a lot of Asian-based artists. They're fucking fantastic. The artist that I worked for when I worked in Toronto had worked there as one of the hired artists, left up his own studio. He was from Ecuador, but a lot of his like knowledge was around the Asian or the Japanese style because he worked with a lot of artists that were Japanese. And I remember him teaching me how to draw clouds and how it's like a continuous pattern all the time.
Yep.
And it's like crazy how there's like these really simplified techniques, but it looks so impactful.
Yeah.
Like, it's beautiful.
You can't fuck that shit up.
You can't. If you know like the mathematics, like the pattern behind it, it's really, really cool. And that's why I think I've always kind of been intimidated by doing that style because I don't want to do it a disservice because it's such a beautiful historical style that like I don't want to fuck it up. Like, should I be doing it? I'm not Japanese. I'm not from that culture. But it's also paying respect to that art form and wanting to do it. And you know what I mean? So it's like I think that it's still okay to be doing it. It's just do the research and try and do it properly.
Yeah.
But yeah, the cherry blossoms, the koi fish, there's so many traditional elements that
I love them
come to mind when I think of it.
And cranes.
Yeah, and I love the full body suited. Like, and I really like the history. Well, I don't necessarily like it because I don't agree that tattoos should be stigmatized.
Oh, but back to like the bathhouse
yes,
history.
the bathhouses. We were talking about this not too long ago in the studio. you and I. But, for those who don't know, there's a lot of, if you look at a lot of Japanese tattoos, full suits, there would be spacing left in the torso down to the pelvic bone region, because these bathouts, which is a very common thing for just men, do women? Men go into bathhouses and they wear robes, these ceremonial robes, and the center is left exposed. And because it's taboo or illegal at some points to have had tattoos, you could not have them showing in these places that were of such high respect as a bathhouse. So they would leave the center untattooed so that they could still go and enjoy the bathhouse.
And not be caught.
Yeah. Because like when you're saying it was the 1940s that stopped?
Yeah, 1948.
1948, that it no longer was illegal. Like, would you get charged, like, to your understanding? Like, that's fucking nuts.
Yeah.
I remember, I'm getting off track, but when my grandmother was still alive, my mom's mom, she was very heavy in the church going. And when I started tattooing, she wasn't like thrilled. And her trying to make the argument that it wouldn't be accepted in the church and by God. And I was kind of like, that's interesting. We went to church the next Sunday, and I went up to pastor at the time and asked him, and he said it was fine. And I was like, fuck you, grandma. No, I love my grandma.
What do you know?
Great. But, like that older mentality of this is somehow going against certain religions or cultures. There is some validity behind it, but I think it's also depending on where you're going. Or
Yeah, I always used to bite back with the like, oh, but you got your ears pierced.
yeah, and you
the
dye
same
your hair.
thing. Yep.
You're changing
the same thing.
God's whatever.
Yep.
Yeah.
Come at me.
Come on, ready. What next? Okay, 3 for 3. What's your next one?
I have so many, but I went to fine line and micro, but I figure you're going realism.
Yes.
Okay.
I did. I put realism as number 4. And I didn't even, not that I had them numbered intentionally. It's just interesting to see our subconscious. When you think of tattooing, what are the styles that come to mind? And I just wrote down everything that came to mind. And that was the order that they came in.
I was going to do a whole page on realism, and I was like, I wrote like a third of the page, and I was going to let you yep.
Oh, I didn't write much at all, but I could talk about it off the top of my head for sure.
Yeah, you have more knowledge.
Yeah, realism. Realism art has been around since the Renaissance period. However, it just got popular in tattooing, I would say recently. Recently meaning in the time length of tattooing. If you think of how long tattooing's been around, realism has only been around
the last 100 years.
Just in like, a short time of popularity. I love it.
I know. I love it too. I love that you love it, but you have like significantly more knowledge as far as like stylizing, design, and whatnot.
Yeah, I don't. The people that I've looked to are still alive today. Like, it's not like I have. I guess the history doesn't go as far back if you want to look at it from an art perspective. In the Renaissance, Michelangelo, like the people that were really groundbreaking in terms of the first time that realism was put onto canvas or into sculpture.
Yeah.
But in tattooing, when I was just getting into tattooing like 14 years ago, I got into it because I drew portraits and I loved being able to recreate something realistically onto skin. And so those that I worked for in Toronto were the ones that inspired me, that are still kicking around today. And it was, understanding. So placement, I find with realism is almost more important than traditional.
Oh, traditional, you can slap that shit anywhere.
And it doesn't really have a rhyme or reason. Sometimes it does, but it doesn't necessarily have to. Whereas if you are going to put a portrait on an area that has a lot of movement, not a good choice.
Yeah.
We need to have flat areas, skin that isn't going to have a ton of elasticity over time and stretch. Like, my favorite spot to put a portrait is going to be the inside forearm. Like, of course you're going to know that. Like, it's the bread and butter. It absorbs inks really well and it moves. It has very minimal movement. So when you're looking at, when you're planning out a sleeve, because a lot of what I do is like big stuff with realism, you find it ends up being like a full sleeve or back piece.
Yeah.
I find that there's a lot of like, okay, you have your four main flanks on the arm, you have your inside forearm, your outside forearm, your inside bicep, your outside bicep and shoulder. So you're going to have your 4 main focal points, and then a lot of it's filler.
Yeah. Flow.
Flow. So, there's so many people to like look at that have changed realism. I don't want to start naming names because I should have done.
Ooh, I'm going to do that for you. Steve Butcher,
So,
Freddie
okay.
Negretti.
If you look at subgenres of realism too, like portraiture,
Yeah.
then there's a
there's
whole
portraiture.
other. Yeah. Sorry. So who do you have? Like, what do you have written?
I wrote Steve Butcher and Freddie Negretti. But then for realism, I wrote down that like what distinguishes realism is like your contour lines that outline the areas of your shade or your highlight are laid out like a topographic map. So you're mapping your shadows, your highlights, and your contrast to create photorealism. So it's tattooing with the intention of recreating a photograph perfectly.
Yep.
And then the styles and aesthetics do vary because you do soft black and gray realism, but there's full color realism. And you can still do realism within your neo-traditional as well as trash polka. So
Then you have soft realism. You
Yeah.
have horror as another subgenre off of realism. You
Yeah.
have like all these
your micro single needle.
Yes, micro portraiture.
Yeah.
Which I'm very curious what all that is going to look like in 30 years from now.
Blobs.
Yeah.
Sorry, but
Hey. A lot of botanical, a lot of nature. If people could get, like a giraffe or a beaver or
You're just throwing out more ideas, things that aren't wolves and lions and, tigers and bears. Oh my.
I do like doing those, but yeah,
A giraffe would be sick.
a giraffe would be
I feel like
sick.
elephants were done for a really long time
yes,
too.
yes.
Yeah, like ooh, imagine like even doing like a hyena. 'Cause it's still like in that dog category, but they have different featuristics where like yeah,
Yes.
if you did a giraffe or a hyena.
Yes.
I don't want to say owls are overdone because I would get another 50 owls on my
I
body.
fucking love owls. I think with realism, not to knock realistic artists at all, because I do think that there is obviously a skill set behind it, but it takes a lot less creativity because we're going and we're looking for photography. Yes, I'm not duplicating one photograph. If I'm doing a sleeve, I'm pulling multiple photo references.
Doing Franken photo work.
And and I'm like, playing with the light exposure, the contrast, and I'm like mixing everything together and basically making a collage.
Yeah.
I used to draw everything and make it up for my head, but it took so long. There's no way I would have the time to do that for every client.
Yeah.
But when you look at a lot of the other styles, they're just drawing this shit from their head.
Yeah.
And that's where my skill set isn't there. Like
drawing from imagination.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like I am so hyper fixated on making something look as realistic as humanly possible. So I need a photograph or a still model to look off of. Because there's only so many creases and folds and depths from a face that I can recreate without seeing it in front of me.
Yeah. Or else also recreating the same thing multiple times because your brain is just pulling like the basics.
Yes.
And then you're supposed to like amplify that. So I get it.
Yeah.
I get it.
And that's why you see statues being so popular in realism because of the one light source and the high contrast.
Yeah.
So, and it translates and looks so good in a tattoo.
It does.
Whereas a lot of people think that any sort of photo can be a realistic tattoo. You need to have foreground. You need to have depth for it to look good.
Yeah.
So, that's what I got for realism.
Yeah, we're on the same page.
Good. You've been fucking crushing out realism. That I still think of that that dog portrait that you did. I think it was on a shoulder. Very, very good.
Yeah, I would love to do more realism.
Yeah. Yeah, it was great. What do you have? Okay, so I had realism and then portrait style tattoos, the subgenre of realism, but we just touched upon that. My next one is biomechanical.
Oh, I never even put biomechanical in there. I put surrealism as my next one.
Ooh, that's good one.
I did surrealism because it's still realism, but it's dreamy, lifelike
Yes.
scenes and portraits. But there's like art juxtaposition.
Okay, so let's go back in history here. Who invented surrealism?
Oh, I don't want to be quizzed on art history right now. You tell me.
Okay, when you look at Impressionism, which is very similar to Surrealism,
Yeah.
like it came from Impressionism, the great debate is whether it was Van Gogh or what the fuck's his name? Oh God.
My brain immediately went to Dali, but Dali doesn't do like
They were both
he is a
from,
surrealist artist, but not.
they were both
the
from
fuck?
France. They worked together and they're from the same genre. Van Gogh or oh my God, Picasso. Fuck me.
Pablo?
Yes. Yes. Van Gogh's info. Yeah. Sorry. Anyways,
You're good. My brain just short circuited.
because I'm dyslexic, I have a hard time with like facts and stuff like that. And like I've literally talked about that argument on an interview that I did before, and it was like fucking go go go. And then
Yeah.
when I try and like bring up specifics, I like have a brain block, and it's really frustrating. But for surrealism and tattooing, I don't even know who would have tattooed it and made it popular. Do you have anyone written down?
I didn't write anyone down for surrealism. I just
Yeah.
have like mental visuals of the pieces I'm thinking of where
Yes.
it's like the face, like a full back piece face superimposed with like
Yeah.
fucking flowers and then like a dreamscape nature scene. And
Yeah.
you're like, I'm looking at 4 different things at once, but it's like everything is so clear. Like I
Yes.
don't.
So that's really the difference. And things don't have to be proportionate either,
Yep.
which is where you can really kind
That's
of
where
play
you get
with
the dreamy thing where everything's
Yes.
like, yeah, there's like that level of distortion, a warp, a phase,
Yeah.
like a phase, fade and haze.
Yeah. It's the lights in here.
It's so bright in here. It's so bright in here. And it's the end of the
Underinvest-
workday again. Biomech.
Yeah, biomech.
Give me your notes on biomech. I
had-
didn't even write that shit
I
down.
literally just wrote transformation of the skin 3D. Like I feel like that was the first time that we saw in tattooing where you had the skin rip and then you had the biomechanics underneath and you had the muscle structure and all of that, like really almost borderlining on gore, but still 3D.
It makes me sick.
It brought 3D to another level.
It is. Yeah.
Like it was short lived. Like you don't really see. I haven't had a request for that. Have you ever had? Do you know what we're talking? Never had a request for
I've
it.
had a couple guys come in and be like, hey, do you do this? No.
It's hard to do.
It's hard because then you have to make, oh, no, especially with like the skin rip,
Yeah, the skin
but
rip
also
stuff.
like biomech, I don't know the intricacies of like gears and cogs and like metal plates and like just
Yeah.
to make it look so seamless on the skin.
Right.
Anxiety
Yeah.
down. No,
It's
no,
yeah.
not pour moi.
So biomechanical, and then I had trash polka.
Oh, okay, I want to go to my.
Let me go to my trash
I have
polka
4
list.
pages before I had to get to trash
Oh my
polka.
God. Okay, so what did you have?
Fine line.
Okay, let's do fine line.
So fine line is your delicate, intricate, detailed tattoos. So
Mm-hmm.
what categorizes it as? Sorry, my lips are so fucking chapped.
Lubricating here. We're
Lubricating my
lubricating.
lips. Your fine line is like your traditional needles, so your single to 3 round liner, or your tight needle groupings, like single needle to 5 round liner tight. I mean, I'm sure you can do a 7, but what's the point?
So just for anyone who isn't a tattooer, when we were throwing out those numbers, a 5 round liner would consist of 5 needles coming to a point.
5 needles soldered together,
Yep.
coming to a point. Traditional. But
Yep.
then for a tight, the needle grouping is soldered even tighter.
Yes.
There is no blooming of the edges.
Yeah.
And 5 needles translate to 3, pretty much.
Also known as bug pin in our
Bug pin,
industry.
yeah.
Yeah. Just to give a little side note there.
Me bitching about needles. So then your fine line and micro tattoos are usually very light, minimal detail, no shading, unless it's like a macro realism. And then simple minimalistic design, they're usually seen as like your fine line tattoos are usually seen as your quotes, your numbers, your names, small symbols,
Yeah.
but also could be like continuous line portraiture or
Yeah.
micro portraits, but other subcategories. Are just like,
Yeah. When I think of fine line, I actually think of Senga. which is like
Yes.
fairies and like all of this like intricate small detailing, whip
Like
shading.
sparkles.
Yeah.
Yeah, fairies. Basically
whimsical.
anything whimsical storybook-esque
Yes.
artwork.
Which is illustrated though. So we're getting in a different.
That is also another subgenre.
Yeah.
So when I wrote down fine line, I thought of Joanna Roman.
Okay.
Do you know who that is?
Yeah.
Who is she? Chronic?
She's in Toronto somewhere.
She's in Toronto, and this girl, she's blown up so many times online and through like magazines and shit, because literally like she specializes in single needle and like 3-round tight tattoos that I couldn't imagine doing, because I would need a magnifying glass to see how tiny of a tattoo it is she's doing, and she does them so cleanly. That's who immediately came to mind when I was like, fine line, like your little hearts on your fingers, you're very dainty, ornamental.
I don't want to say Pinterest tattoos because that makes it sound like I'm making fun of it. I'm not. Like,
no, but that's
like,
what you will see showing
Yes.
up on Pinterest when the second you put fine line tattoo or
Yes.
dainty feminine tattoo in Pinterest,
Yes.
you will get her whole portfolio.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
It's
yeah.
Let's go off of what you have. Like the next ones that you have, because
I put cyber sigilism.
you put what?
Cyber sigilism.
I don't even know what that is.
Because it's the newer shit where I just wanted to like go from cyber sigilism into tribal. So cyber sigilism is what's popping off right now, and it seems to be because I think it's because of TikTok. I don't have TikTok, but all I see are like the reels and videos coming up where it's like the new school tattoo kids being like, "This is a tattoo you'll love," and what it is, it's technology or mysticism and symbols that create bold and unique designs. So it's like your natural. I'm doing a site,
Oh,
like
okay.
it's like new tribal, but it's fine line. It's very wispy. It has like, it reminds me of like, like metal bands when their names
Yes, the
and the
black
writing
and
looks
the
like it's being
dripping
ripped and
yes.
dripping, or there's like webbing coming off of it.
Yes. Okay, I know
That's
exactly what you're talking
cybersigilism.
about.
So it's bold, black, wispy grays, thin, very sharp,
It looks
abstract lines.
like a paintbrush. Like you see some people actually taking a paintbrush and brushing it on.
That's black work. I'm gonna get there.
My goodness. Just disregard what I just said.
Yeah, so cyber sigilism. So I put that there first because that's become really popular. And I think 2022 literally was when cyber sigilism came into play, and it's just kind of like taken over.
Okay.
We don't do it. I'm attempting it. We will see.
I think you're going to crush it.
I have no idea how I'm going to design it, but I got a request for it, and I was like, it's like tribal.
You got to figure it out.
It was a tribal ish. So yeah, then the next category I did tribal. Mm-hmm. So that brings us back to your origins in tattooing. Mm-hmm. They usually have a significant meaning to the culture. Mm-hmm. So it's bold black shapes and lines, solid saturation, and it usually features elements and symbols with significant meanings to the appropriate culture. So you've got your Maori, your Aztec, your Samoan, your Polynesian, Japanese, Celtic, native tribe.
Yeah.
Imagery.
Yeah.
And then they carry deep cultural significance, and then the symbols are usually of identity, a spiritual significance, representation of accomplishments, or social standing.
Okay.
Not for white folks. But in the 90s,
Yes. It was very
the
much.
white man was like, fuck me up.
The white man. The fucking white honey for sure.
Trad, yeah, it was the trad dolphin, the trad
butterfly.
crab. So it was a lot of like astrological symbols, solid flat back, flat black.
She's got a fat back.
I'm having a stroke because I'm talking about tribal.
Baby got back.
Yeah. Flames. And the weird, what is the swoopy thing? Like the armbands.
Yeah, yes. Yeah.
That's where you're like, we talked about it last week, your tramp stamp, your lower back tattoos were the spiral with the like the flamey wave with like shit in the middle.
It was always like on a girl's hip too.
Oh yeah, on a girl's hip. On your little fuck me lines.
Your little fuck me lines.
Little back of the back. And then armbands.
Yes.
But like now when people want something flat black like that, I'm like, part of me is like, it reminds me of clip art. Yeah. What was tribal very quickly became white folk clip art.
Yes.
Just taking an image and slapping it on and making it a silhouette.
And, you know, just as like a sidebar, we're not saying if you have a tribal tattoo that you're like an abomination. Like we understand that that was trendy at the time and the knowledge wasn't there that you maybe shouldn't have done that because it's not necessarily not appropriate. But we know that now. So that's why now we say, you know, maybe don't do that or do it properly or, you know, it's just trying to educate.
Or, yeah. Or if it is part of your culture and you do not have an artist that does that work and you do want to come to us, provide me with the artwork.
Yes. Please. And I would love to do my best to do it justice.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'd like to think we try and educate ourselves enough that we're not doing any harm in that sense.
Yeah.
But it's the same thing like we've talked about before where we have such a large Anishinaabe and Ojibwe community.
Yeah.
And then they come in and they want Ojibwe florals or they want things that are culturally representative of them. And I'm like...
Yeah.
Man, I wish there was someone I can send you to without sending you across, go to Greg, but not everyone can go to Michigan, you know? So I'm like, if you want to bring me the original artwork, if you have something that's like paneling from your like jingle dress or whatever, like I would love to do that for you, but there's always going to be someone who can do it significantly better than I.
And I wish that there was an Indigenous artist here that we could be giving that work to, because they're the ones who are deserving of it. But if
anyone knows an indigenous artist who might have a background in tattooing, come.
Let us know.
Let us know. I would love to be able to have somebody here for that.
Oh my God, work
because
with
we have
them?
such a large
Absolutely.
community.
And
that's a whole other thing.
I even have that one piece that I'm doing. It's a sleeve, and it's of the grandfather teachings, and I think it's like so beautiful.
That's beautiful.
And I've had the conversation with her multiple times where I'm like, "You're okay that I'm a white chick doing this?" And obviously, she's Indigenous getting it done, and she's giving me all the information, and I'm learning, and I think it's really, really neat. And like to be trusted with that, I feel like that's fantastic.
It's an honor, absolutely.
It is. So
yeah,
there you go.
Okay, I was going to go to watercolor, but because we just did cyber sigillism tribal, I'm going to go to blackwork.
I didn't even write watercolor. Okay, blackwork.
Blackwork. So blackwork is your solid black ink without addition of color or gray shade. So that has the history linked to traditional tribal tattooing, your Polynesian, your Maori, etc. So, but then blackwork has also like snowballed into dark, illustrative, graphic art, etching and engraving style. So like lino block print, style tattooing.
Yeah, that's cool.
So it's just like a complete lack of vivid chroma hues, if that makes sense. And then thick outlines, bold, solid black areas with negative space, so your skin breaks. So like
the inverted image.
Yeah, the inverted image.
Yeah.
And then their origin, like the origins of blackwork would be like Spanish blackwork, so your embroidery on fabric. And tribal and primitive designs like henna or ornamental. And then ornamental is so fucking huge now.
Yes.
And then it made me think of, I fucking name drop him a lot, but for blackwork, Tommy O.
Oh, yeah. Isn't he a judge on a show now?
Tommy? No. Is he? No.
No, maybe not.
He's at the Attic Tattoo in Toronto. So he's
okay.
The blackwork artist, the British guy that works with Kurt.
Oh, Kurt. Oh shit! No, I was mixing him up. I do know. Okay. Yeah.
Points to my face tattoo.
Yes.
Tommy O is a fucking badass Canadian blackwork artist.
Yeah. I was mixing him up with someone else. Yeah.
But that's so like blackwork. This is traditional blackwork on my hand.
So Kat, for those who are listening on Spotify,
is my hand tattoo.
A beautiful tattoo on their hand.
So that we've talked about it before. Yeah. Bold lines, it was like a 14 or an 18 round liner or 14 bloomed.
Yeah.
And then I have like a huge blackwork piece on my leg that Sam did. It's like a giant peony and it's just like solid black, no shade, big lines. And then, but also blackwork can also go into your blackouts.
Yes. So that's where people are blocking out one full area of their body, a flank, or it can even just be one section within other tattoos.
Yep.
Preferably it's done on skin that hasn't been tattooed, but a lot of the times you see it over tattoos as a cover up.
Yeah. Black work makes great for a blast over.
Yeah.
And then anyone who doesn't know what a blast over is generally where you take your bold line, solid black with skin break kind of tattooing style and slap it on top of your old tattoos. And I like it.
And I like it. So you've done a few now. I've done one.
Well, a blast over or a blackout?
Well, yeah. Blackout. I don't do blast overs either.
Oh no,
I do
yeah,
cover-ups.
you did the.
I did breeze.
Yeah, we did a blackout combo together.
We did. Oh no, you did fucking breeze. What am I talking about? I can't take credit for that.
You did a couple hours on her. Senga even got in on that.
Yeah.
Everyone was learning how to do
That was
blackout
fun.
tattoos.
It's harder than I thought.
Yeah, it's a lot.
It is. It's hard.
Chugga, 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 chugga away.
Yeah.
Black worked watercolor. What do you have on your list? I'm just talking my face off.
Okay, so I love that. I have Trash Polka, Chicano, ornamental, black work, illustrated, and then these ones I wrote down, but I didn't actually write anything. But
I wrote like a
illustrative-
list of 10 with no information. I just wanted to list them.
just that I was like, let's not forget geometric, soft realism, fine line, watercolor, horror, sketch, illustrated. I guess I didn't have watercolor, but I didn't write anything on them.
I have information on geometric, ignorant, trash polka, and watercolor.
Well, fucking holy shit.
Let's do it.
Yeah, I do think Chicano style is worth talking about just because it's a historical ish.
It is historical. Do you want to talk about Chicano for a minute? Because like that.
Yeah, came from Mexican culture, mostly in Southern California. A lot of it is family and religion based, gang symbols and lettering made famous in LA by Chicano street style culture, a lot of filigree. That's my understanding.
And a
Chicano
lot of
style.
it is just hand drawn.
It's fucking sick. The script, when I think of it, I think of script. I know it goes far beyond that.
Yeah, like
but
Chicano
it's
script has to
gorgeous.
be hand drawn. Like you can't duplicate that shit.
Yeah.
And you just have to understand the flow of line to make it.
And I really like
Beautiful.
how it flows on the body too. A lot of the time you'll see like on a neck and it's just flowing on the
Gangsta.
Yes.
This is so nice.
But I think like the origin of it coming from crime and a lot
And
of
the Latinx communities.
yes.
It's fucking cool.
Yeah.
It's
Very
the
cool.
coolest shit. It's the coolest shit.
So there we go. We touched on it.
Touched on it. Okay. Next I wrote watercolor. So like womp womp, no offense. There's so many great watercolor artists. We have a few people in town that do watercolor beautifully.
Yeah. Good job.
Proud of you. Good job. It makes my eye twitch. I love watercolor painting. Watercolor translating the tattoo just does not work for me, but that's fine. That's my own that's my grudge spare. So their technique in watercolor tattooing is your color bleeding, blurring, fading, color running, plus your watered down pigment. So everything looks as though you are doing your little spit shade, watery blip on canvas. So it's painterly. There's a lack of outline. It's vibrant and has an expansive palette. And then now when people do watercolor, which I like, which I kind of stand behind because it makes more sense to me, is to do your like gray line or bloodline skeleton underneath your imagery.
Yeah.
So just to me, it's like an underpainting to maintain your longevity of the tattoo.
Yeah.
So
Fair enough. Enough said.
it's beautiful. If
It
you can
is.
do it, I am so fucking proud of you. It makes my brain hurt.
It's hard to do.
It's hard.
Watercolor as a medium, I've always hated.
She's a fickle bitch.
And no, I don't like it. I want control. It's my control issues. You just got to go with it and it flows and then the water drips over here. I didn't want that fucking color over there. I wanted it over here.
Yeah. Like I
So-
like a traditional watercolor, like with your spit shade to do your just like solid saturated colors for painting like your traditional flash. But once we get into like the color bleeds and the fade,
Yes.
and
There's
to
more
make things
control.
like that dream-like water.
Yes.
No.
Yeah. Yeah. We're on the same page.
Beautiful.
Literal
but
page.
No. Same literal page. My next one was Trash Polka.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Originated in
Germany.
Germany.
Yeah.
in 1998.
Yeah. Red and black inks, surrealism, script, collage-like composition, a bit of a chaotic appearance. That's
Yeah.
what I wrote.
Yeah, I wrote down that it's mixes black work, realism, and trash is your artistic layers, so your mixed media.
Yeah. Collage almost.
Yeah,
like, in a
aggressive,
simplified-
chaotic design, bold
Yes.
black with large brush strokes.
Yeah.
So like you'll have like your realism image in black and gray, and then just bah, 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 of like paint brushes.
Yes. And a pop of red.
and just fucking red,
Bam.
just blah.
You just spit all over it.
Yeah. Who does trash polka that I like and I know from my past? What is her name?
Don't think I've ever worked with a trash book artist. I've seen it done. I don't think I've ever done it.
Lou.
Shout out
L-U.
to LU. Where was this guy? Down south?
Girl. They them?
This girl. This
Lou
person.
Paracelli, a DreamWorks Inc. art collective.
Nice.
I believe it's Mississauga.
Cool.
They are an FYT Supplies pro team artist.
Oh, there we go. We use their needles.
Their trash polka is
Oh, cool. That's
is-
fucking dope.
yeah.
Yeah.
So if anyone wants to look up trash polka,
Yeah.
DreamWorks Inc. art collective in Mississauga.
Nice.
Lou is talented and it's insane. Yeah, I'll get lost on their feed quite often. And but they're like trash polka also like incorporates like that surrealism vibe.
Yeah.
It's so good.
Yeah.
But my brain can't compose a design like that.
Have we ever had an inquiry for trash polka? No. Yeah. Lex, our apprentice, that's who we're talking about. Her name is Lex.
Well, that would be cool.
Yeah.
That would be cool. I could see that for her.
Yeah. Yeah.
I could actually
it's fun
see
to
that for her once she
explore.
gets like the hang of like solid saturation because her realism is great.
Yeah.
So if she can mix mix the hard lines and this painterly splash with realism, I think she could do like not like
yeah.
huge trash polka, but like a micro trash polka.
She could do whatever she sets her little heart to. That
I mean, she could absolutely,
but
maybe
from
not
what
this year.
from what she's showing with her skill set so far, I definitely agree that would be a good avenue for her to explore.
Yeah,
I don't know how busy
she's
she
already
is, but-
like on the road to be like a little bit of a traditional Gorley because she likes the thick liners. So
Yeah. Mix the two.
she did ornamental today.
Oh, really?
She did
How
matching
was
ornamental.
it? Did she blow out?
No, it was good.
Oh, good job, Lex. I know you're listening to this.
No, she did a great job.
Yeah, that's good for her. She's doing very well.
I'm proud of that little bean.
What do you have next?
Geometric.
So sacred geometry is the same. We mean the same thing. That's like the technical more term, or are those somehow different?
So like sacred geometry in itself is its own thing.
It's more mathematical. Like it's
Yeah.
very
So geometric is your lines and shapes. Anywhere from simple to elaborate patterns. So like I have sacred geometry, the flower of life on my throat. So that's just like repetitive, very clean, very just like copy paste of whatever. So your sacred geometry is that, which is also what you see in like your mandalas and like the weave of like a dream catcher kind of. But then geometric is also taking everyday items and to look geometric with sharp lines and clean repetitive shapes. So yeah.
I think you see it as a lot of filler as well in tattooing.
It's either you
Geometry.
go like full geometric sleeve or
Yeah.
geometric gets thrown in as your backfill.
Yes.
There's no in between.
Yeah.
We've seen geometric pop off where it was like you'll have like your hyper realistic flowers with your geometric shapes bold line and as like your background
Yeah.
to an
That looks
image.
cool. Looks cool.
But yeah, so geometric is like precise, symmetrical, often inspired by mathematical and geometric principles, and they're usually to represent like balance and stability.
I think it's very impressive when you see a full sleeve done because it's
Yeah, my mic's on. My mic is on.
imagine this whole time it wasn't on. Riley's panic was like, "Jeez."
On.
On. They're on. They're turned on.
Turn on to tattoo history.
Amazing.
Yep. So I wrote for geometric. And then the last one I wrote a bunch of shit about is ignorant because it's funny.
Please continue.
When did you first hear about geometric ignorant tattooing?
When we interviewed our junior artist Senga.
Yeah.
I'm coming around to it. I don't have to like everything, and that's okay.
Yep.
I was like getting the story of when you were like,
Yeah. You know what? It's I have spent my entire career, as many of us have, devoted to making lines straight, making things look symmetrical, making things properly applied. And I'm not saying that the tattoo isn't properly applied. It's meant to look a certain way, but to me, it's my ignorance of art and saying that to me that isn't artistic because I have devoted my life into making things so realistic.
Yeah.
And I have so much respect for that craft, like that level of realism, that to see something that is purposely made to look like it's not applied properly, I almost find offensive.
That's fair.
And I'm really trying to broaden my horizon and be like, it's not about me. It's not.
No.
But that's where my foundation.
That's where your eye starts switching.
That's where my foundation comes from. I'm just like, okay, if someone likes it, they like it. Who am I to say that they shouldn't fucking do it?
Mm-hmm.
But also working so hard to build up a reputation, to have a studio, I was just hesitant to have a tattoo look like that and leave here and have our name behind it.
Absolutely fair. And I get that. Yeah, it's very interesting. So anyone who isn't, who doesn't know why she's losing her shit over ignorant tattoos, it's because they're simple. They basically characterized as a tattoo that looks like a child could have drawn it. They're DIY.
Yes.
They're mostly line work. They have like a wonky appearance, sketchbook style quality, but also like not applying all of the historical techniques within tattooing to final product. And then also the fact that they're like ironic or humorous. You're like, why?
I don't mind that though. I don't mind like a haha tattoo.
There's some of them are ridiculous.
It's glamorizing basement tattooing. It's glamorizing getting a machine off Amazon, not being properly trained, and putting people at risk. I know that that's not every ignorant artist, and I'm not saying that. But a lot of it was during the pandemic too, and that's where it hit its peak. And it was, hey, let's get hundreds of thousands of views of me. I bought this machine off Amazon, let me tattoo myself, but they're not realizing that they're encouraging people to give people bloodborne diseases, to put people at risk.
Yeah.
And that is a part of it that I find stressful.
That's very,
Do you know what I mean though?
No, I get it.
I understand there's like an artist like Senga who's super talented, who is so cleanly, who has all the foundation in the background, but that isn't every artist isn't
no,
like
but
that.
even
Like
when she does her ignorant style design, she's still applying proper technique.
Yeah, oh, of course. But that's not when people
like she's not like
she's not purposely blowing out or anything, but like that's like the look of it is to make it look like the line wasn't fully saturated, or it looks like literally a child, like the flower isn't symmetrical and it's like purposely wiggly. Whereas in an apprenticeship, if I were to see that, I'd be like, this is a shit tattoo. That shouldn't be a wiggly line.
You're not on skin, bye.
But like, you know what I mean? So like, to me, that's just where I have a shortcoming where I'm like, I just can't wrap my head around it. But I don't have to. So
no, but we had talked to her about that when we had interviewed her, being like, you can do your ignorant tattooing once we can see that you can do proper streamline tattooing within these subcategories of like genres. And she fucking
does
slays. That. She can do bold black work.
Oh yeah.
She can even do realism. But
she's
like
very talented.
She's a primo at fine line, and then she's like, but I just want to draw a silly little guy. And then you know what? You can do that because you're gonna do it beautifully and you're not going to fuck a client in the process.
Yes.
That's fine. That's where I ended because I just thought it's a good ending. Get you riled up a little bit. But then I also wrote down a couple other categories, and then we can just like speedball off of that.
Okay, cool.
I wrote abstract, anime style tattooing, black and gray, because black and gray doesn't just mean realism.
Black and gray is an umbrella that I
Yeah.
think most categories can go under.
Yeah.
I guess not trash polka because it always has red, but like a lot of categories would also fall under the umbrella of black and gray.
Absolutely can. And then I wrote patch, but not like not patchwork, but it's like the patches
Oh, those are cool. They look super
like
3D.
It looks like a frayed patch on
Yes.
like a backpack, but it's on your skin. Like what the fuck? How
Like
are you
this-
doing that?
the stitching is actually like it looks very cool. If you don't know what we're talking about, please Google it. It's
Yeah,
sick.
look up patch tattoo. So
Yes.
cool. And then glitter tattoos.
Yeah.
Amanda Graves is the artist that has like gotten really freaking famous for it.
So not to be mistaken with glitter in the ink.
No,
Please don't do that.
do not put glitter in your ink. Same thing goes for your little UV inks. That's a carcinogen. Please fucking stop.
Yeah, those aren't approved in
It's not approved in
Ontario.
Ontario.
Yeah.
And then my next one I wrote 3D, so your red and blue lines that overlap.
Oh yeah. So it looks like a neon sign.
You can like 3D, you can literally do like the way you double expose your image in red line and your blue line.
Sorry.
I've done a couple of them.
what
You
you're
put the
talking
3D glasses on, it fucking works.
That's cool.
And then continuous line contour, so that's you're tattooing your outermost edges of your form, so your outline drawings. Those also popped off on Pinterest and TikTok.
Yeah.
And now people get their like the little Polaroid images of their like childhood photos and shit like that. It's cute. They're really, really used in like in memoriam tattoos. The last one I wrote down was like sketch style, so it looks like it's done with pencil. Like
Cross hatching style.
yeah, like
Yeah.
that kind of goes under the same category as like your fairy tale esque.
Yeah, one liner.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's
Amazing.
that's my 9 pages of notes. What other categories did you have in there?
No, we
I don't
hit
think we
it.
touched on all of them. You had other ones in there that I didn't even think of. You
No,
have
we talked about them.
You have your weird list. Say it again.
new trad, Japanese, realism, portrait style, biomechanical, trash polka, Chicano, ornamental, blackwork, illustrative, sketchwork, horror, watercolor, fine line, soft realism, geometric, tribal.
Oh fuck, we did it.
We did it. Yo, high five.
New traditional for everyone
Love it.
in 2024.
And we for sure missed some shit. So there's going to be someone at home who's listening to, well, I mean, no one listens to this. It's fine. 4 people. Actually,
More than 4 people watch this, and I've been getting messages about how people are offended that we're not calling out that we do have maybe 25 viewers
oh my
or
God,
more.
I can't even remember her name. Elise, my neighbor, messaged me and was like, I was listening to the podcast driving home from Toronto. And I think it's awesome, blah, blah. And I was like, I'm so sorry. Cause I assumed that it was like the last episode. I'm like, that was the most unhinged, like chaotic episode.
Cat's name because of the podcast.
Yeah,
Oh,
the other
what
night
bar?
we were at Reggie's the other night. That girl you went to school with was like,
Oh,
oh,
yeah,
and then
yeah,
who's
Who's Ansel?
who's Ansel? That's my cat.
And that was like some random girl you went to.
Yeah, okay.
And I'm not from here, so I have people that like I've lived here 14 years,
Yeah.
but everyone that I know from my past is like I think it's cute that
That's great.
they watch. I'm like, yeah, you get to see me because I suck and I don't visit.
Yeah. I don't like to think that people watch it. In the grand scheme of podcasts, though, no one watches it. Like, it's like 100 people. It's not a lot of people.
I know, but it's fun. It's a silly little outlet.
I do it because I like it. I think this is so
I know
much fun.
it's fun, and this is also like the most time we get to talk outside of being like, "What are you doing today? Oh, that looks sick.
It's
Ooh, I
very
like your contrast.
Yes.
Does that hurt? That really was fucking hurt. Like,
Yeah.
yeah,
And then when we're hanging out, like, as friends socially, it's very... I mean, we definitely still talk shop, but it's
We
nice
talk
to
shop
just,
a lot,
we just
but-
talk shit, like,
we
chaotic shit.
talk chaotic shit.
Like, it's like, yeah, the most... Not like...
It's not this.
It's not this. Yeah.
This
So
has some level of structure to it.
This was the most structure in
It's
a podcast
because
that
I
we've
got
done.
to talk about the things I like.
That was great. Yeah. And then what did we say we were going to do next? We're going to do the celebrity?
Oof.
Yeah. Or just talking about them.
Talking about I don't know celebrities or their tattoos. I think the only person that came to mind right when we were like celebrity tattooing, I was like, Rihanna's got like something on her abs that I am familiar with. Cleopatra.
Yeah. We'll have photos though. Like it'll be, do you watch Hot Ones? It's a YouTube channel where they eat hot wings and interview celebrities.
No.
It's fucking great. But it's like they have a picture that they're showing. So you and I get to see the tattoo. It's not like I'm like, hey, you know that person's tattoo and you have to visual. We'll have a visual cue Riley's gonna give us a visual cue. It won't really be a Spotify episode. Maybe people can look it up while they're listening. But that'll be cool, just for a
That'll be
sneak peek
silly.
of what we're doing next week.
We can do that.
Has got to be the longest podcast we've done. No? Really? Oh my god, that was like an hour and a half.
No, last week was an hour of just mayhem, but
So-
this
oh
is
my
going
God.
to be an hour of tattoo structure.
Very educational. I learned some things.
I like to talk about tattooing.
Yeah. I'd say so.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good day.
Is that it?
I think so. Well, what else do you want to talk about? Wait,
Whoa,
don't.
whoa, whoa,
Riley.
whoa, whoa. She's always trying to
I
cut us off.
fucking
I'm trying to
just-
come up with something.
What do you? Do you want to talk about anything, Riley? Do you want the mic? Okay. No,
That's a lie. You know about tattooing.
You know so much about tattooing. From working, you do. It's like crazy the amount of like information that you have retained. Yeah, absorbed.
Yeah.
Like when you're giving Lex direction, sometimes I'm like, I would think that it was a tattoo artist talking. Like, it's
Yeah,
very
she can give
impressive.
direction on
Oh
like
my god, can she ever?
skin stretch and saturation and
Yeah, they crush it.
stuff like that. Yeah, okay, I guess we can call it.
Goodbye.
Okay, goodbye. Thank you. See you again. Bye.